Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SourceForge podcast. Thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Bo Hamilton, senior editor and multimedia producer here at SourceForge, the world's most visited software comparison site where B2B software buyers compare and find business software solutions. Today, we're talking with Ralph Hess, Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Navigator Business Solutions. If you find that your organization is having trouble growing or adapting to the industry it's in, whether that's retail, manufacturing, or distribution, you might consider working with a company like Navigator to find a solution. They have a solution set that's been developed through more than 15 years of industry experience, delivering integrated enterprise resource planning or ERP offerings configured for clients' current and future needs. So to talk more about the solutions they offer, let me introduce Ralph Hess. Ralph, welcome to the podcast. Glad you can join us.
Thanks, Bo. Very nice to be here today.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Now, I provided a really general overview of your company, but there's a lot more to go over, of course. Could you introduce yourself and give us your breakdown of Navigator Business Solutions and maybe some of the solutions it offers clients?
Sure, absolutely. So Ralph Hess, as Bo indicated, I'm EVP of Sales Marketing and Pre-Sales here at Navigator. Navigator is a 15-year-old SAP business partner. We have achieved the gold status very early in our relationship with SAP and actually have traveled through the journey of ERP with SAP from small market to mid-market, all the way up to now more the higher end of the mid-market. But Navigator as a company really values long-term strategic customer relationships. And so regardless of how we engage in terms of an ERP solution, designing integrations to ERP solutions, management consulting, et cetera, we really look at the customer and their business at the forefront and look to be able to deliver outcomes for them.
Awesome. That's a good description. And before we get too kind of into the weeds with acronyms and technical jargon here, I want to provide a little bit more context with SAP, which stands for Systems, Applications, and Products. And then we have Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP, and that's kind of the broader category of software designed to manage business processes, while SAP is one of the leading companies that's developing and offering ERP solutions. So I think it's, you could say ERP is the concept and SAP is one of the major players within that space, right?
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to represent it, right? They're the publisher of the software that they publish in really three different forms. Is ERP software, which is indicated to across an enterprise or a full business continuum to be able to help companies manage their business and run it better.
Awesome. Yeah. You can kind of picture it like ERP and SAP Business One, for example, as like a control tower for your business, where you have all the important operations all in one convenient interactive dashboard.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's actually really a great way to provide an analogy or a metaphor for it. So, you mentioned Business One. Of course, there's two other solutions that SAP provides. One is SAP Business ByDesign, which is really their first public cloud product, their first public cloud full-blown ERP. It was referred to as a suite in a box, where you would really buy a subscription and you would have everything all the way from customer relationship management, or as we know it, CRM, through your financials and supply chain, which is sales order, distribution, inventory, production, quality, and all the way into service delivery as well. So that was really starting in 2013, SAP's first foray into the public cloud. In 2017, they understood they needed to bring a product that maybe was a bit deeper in terms of functionality on a public cloud basis. And that's when they brought out SAP S4 Public Edition, which has really been relabeled SAP Grow. So, yeah, so those are the three go-to markets, if you will, product from the publisher SAP.
Okay, so and then this is another area that's going through a lot of different digital transformations and changes, just like with a lot of the consumer-facing software products we may be more familiar with. Now, we got the foundation laid for us. Can you kind of talk about some of the trends you are watching in this space and maybe experiencing in the ERP sector?
Yeah, absolutely. Really, as software has matured over the course of time, it used to be kind of what was behind the magic curtain was the software, right? But as people have evolved and businesses have evolved to now looking at their third or fourth iteration of software that they're installing, the buyers are much more informed, much more educated, understand much in a much more insightful way how the software can help their business. So that's really a trend that I'm seeing is that people are more educated on what they're looking for and the outcomes that they're looking to deliver. Other trends that you see is this move to the public cloud. And why are people moving to the public cloud? It's really two reasons. One is a cost savings, right? Imagine if you can say, I'm no longer running my own servers. I no longer have to have the overhead of the personnel to manage my servers, manage my applications. I can put that all up in a data center and have that cost really rolled right into the subscription. Now, there is the concept of private cloud, where you're still paying for the administration of all that separate from your software subscription. But the public cloud is the direction that many more people are taking. And again, cost is one reason. One is really to almost free themselves of the baggage that has been built over the evolution of having software and then modifying it to do something and modifying it to do something to the point where you now have something that you can't upgrade to take advantage of the latest technologies, things like AI, robotics, machine learning. And so people are making that shift, a digital transformation, as you appropriately labeled it, to move to the public cloud to more of a kind of a standard process, business process. And that's allowing them to take advantage of all these advances in technology that are helping accelerate people's business.
Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned the public cloud. We're all familiar with the cloud, generally speaking, and cloud-based services. But the public cloud is interesting because basically what it provides is on-demand computing resources over the internet. And naturally, my mind goes to I guess the video game sphere, the Xbox Game Pass. It includes these gaming features where you can play a game without downloading it. It's pretty amazing and super convenient because you don't have to download and wait for 100 gigs of a file to download it and fill up your hard drive space, right? So from a business operations standpoint, can you maybe talk about that? Like, why are people looking so seriously at the public cloud?
I think that people are looking more seriously because more robust solutions, more sophisticated solutions are being delivered on the public cloud. If you look at it 10 years ago, companies like, SAP with ByDesign, you look at NetSuite, what they were able to deliver. And now as you're looking at Acumatica, Sage, Cloud, things like that. 10 years ago, there was, the applications were maybe a mile wide and 2 inches deep. Now, as you take a look at it, people are requiring higher degrees of sophistication, especially if they're successful businesses. So if you look at the solution set that perhaps a $25 million to $40 million company needs that's growing at 5% a year, they're fine with one of those more entry level type solutions on the cloud, on the public cloud that I just mentioned. But as those companies start to accelerate, as they start to grow, as their go to market evolves, an example may be that one of our customers, Harry's Razors, started as a direct to consumer subscription model, right? Now they're in every go to market you can see. They're on ecom, they're in Amazon, they're in Costco. So as companies morph, they need more sophistication, more depth in terms of planning, production, managing those supply chains. And so people are flocking to the public cloud because there's more and more capabilities in those areas of depth to help them accomplish more in the public cloud, which 10 years ago you needed to have an on-prem or private cloud solution to do.
Yeah. I imagine it's continuing to get better and better, but there's still some kind of like different, kinks to work out and connection issues. Again, I kind of think about the gaming aspect, and it's very convenient, and I'm glad that it's available as an option. And I think it is the future. but it's still like there's still some areas to improve upon, right? I think naturally as you have the connection get more refined and faster, and the bandwidth improves, I think you just have a all around better experience. But it's interesting to see that and hear about how businesses are utilized.
Yeah, I think, well, it's interesting that you bring that up because it's a lot of it's about mindset, right? So when we talk to customers, we're looking for people to have a pragmatic cloud mindset. And what that means is they're leaving behind the hesitation of a few things. Oh, my data is going to be up in the cloud. It's in a shared environment. What about the security issues? The others are people don't want to leave the security of having their own platform. The equal to, hey, I can download this game on my own set, right? And I have complete control of it and total access to it, that type of thing. And I think as broadband, as access to the internet has improved, the speed has improved, the reliability has improved. More and more people now are saying, okay, I can leave some of those fears behind and embrace kind of the new future.
Right. Yeah, and you unlock a lot more power and performance, right, when you kind of delegate it or relegate it out to a separate data center somewhere with just more hardware to accommodate different tasks. You think of all the AI stuff that's going on right now, and all this is being ran who knows where, but it's certainly, in most cases, it's not on premises, it's not on your device. So I want to talk about some more of your company's solutions for customers. But before that, can you kind of talk about some of the challenges facing clients? Like when companies are trying to grow and maybe maximize their profits, what challenges do they most often face, and when should they consider an ERP modernization project, for example?
That's a really good question. And you brought up two key factors, right? There's growth. People used to be willing to grow and not consider profitability associated with that, right? So the scale up, right? The rapid scale up, just get to a certain scale and then profitability will occur. More and more people now with really the competition for investment capital are now having to deliver results faster as they're scaling. So that's one of the challenges they face is how do I cross the chasm from being a small company to a company that now is going from a 50 million to 100 to 200 to 300 million dollar company, but do that in a profitable way. So as we've seen customers lately, they grow to a certain extent on their existing solutions, whether that be a public cloud or an on-prem or a private cloud solution. And what they're having to do is add more band-aid things, connect things in ways that aren't necessarily natural. And it starts to have diminishing returns and starts to handicap their ability to scale. And so when they hit that kind of ceiling, they can feel that there may be the demand there, but boy, we can't deliver anything more than we're already delivering with the solutions we're on. And so that's really the point. The challenges are usually around the supply chain, planning around the supply chain. As you had made mention, we're very consumer products, retail, wholesale, moving products, helping people sell products in the most efficient and profitable way. So as you take a look at it, the sophistication around planning, demand planning, resource planning, managing that supply chain. That's where people, if they're doing a lot on spreadsheets, right, they're working around the system. That's where they find, wait a minute, this just isn't working. We can't get a single source of truth on the business. If somebody's out and we don't know where their spreadsheet is, orders are going to be lost. It's just kind of that. You end up working around the system as opposed to in the system. When people hit that level, that's when they start to consider a transformation.
Interesting. Yeah. How does Navigator's all-in-one approach benefit clients facing these challenges? You touched on some of these, but do you find that you need to kind of tweak your approach as these companies grow, or is it kind of like you have the solution ready to go for no matter the company or industry?
Yeah, I'd love to say we have it regardless company or industry. I did make mention that we're very supply chain oriented, right? Based around products. I would say that our all-in-one approach can scale pretty well. We adopt this kind of the philosophy of crawl, walk, run. Let's, so three phases to a project. Crawl is what some people would call an MVP, minimum viable product. Just I'll break down the acronyms as I say them. And so what that does is really meet the needs as they exist today. Let's meet you where you are today. Let's get you up and running on the solution. And you referred to an all-in-one solution. Yes, it's a full solution that includes the financials, everything related to buying, selling, planning, manufacturing products. And that likely and oftentimes includes connections to e-commerce, Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, EDI connections as well, and Amazon. So those are kind of the common things that we find. Let's get you up and running. Let's get you into the new solution. Let's achieve the outcomes you're looking to solve, at least at the outset. Then let's look at a phase two, which is the run phase, which is now that we're up and running, let's look to optimize things. Where are you still, where do you want to see the improvements? How do we tweak the configuration to help you either accelerate, sales or scale, control profitability, control spend, what have you, right? Those are really kind of that optimization phase. And then the phase three is really the art of the possible, right? So now I want to talk about a lot of automation, a lot of integration of AI, a lot of integration of robotics to be able to really streamline the operation and be able to use everything that was built data-wise in phase one and phase two to help you really optimize the business.
Yeah, when I was researching your company and some of your solutions, you mentioned this kind of the workshop style implementation process. That's essentially what you're talking about with the different stages?
Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. So we do have an implementation methodology which is geared towards a fit to standard approach. So the way that old fashioned ERP implementations went was a company would come in, sit with the customer, understand what they do, document what they do, kind of figure out how they needed to make the system do what the customer did. Then they would move forward with the implementation. That was called the blueprinting approach. So you lay out a blueprint, you represent that blueprint in the system, and then you move forward with the implementation. What we talk about is a fit to standard process, meaning that SAP has been providing ERP to businesses, thousands of businesses, tens of thousands of businesses over the course of 50 years. And so what they've done is, in a really unique way, bundled up what the best way to process a sales order, to process an accounts payable invoice. And rather than figuring out what the customer does, we use workshops to be able to explain to the customer how the system can do what they're looking to accomplish. Not necessarily, you've heard me talk about outcomes, not necessarily talk about how they do it, but the outcome. And this is the best practice way of doing it. Those are the workshops that we do. And so in doing that, we're able to accelerate what we call the time to value, because we're not figuring out what's in the past and all the baggage, right? We're just saying, here's a possibility of the way you can run your business. Do we need to tweak it and configure it to maybe address some special requirements they have? Yep, sure, no problem. And we do that. But typically, rather than it being, a year long to get the system up and running, we can have you up and running in 6 to 9 months, and you're gaining that value faster. The ROI on the project, return on investment, is much quicker in that fit to standard approach. Not to over talk it, but that comes back to when I referred to the customer having the right mindset, that pragmatic cloud mindset. So when we talk to customers, we interview them as much as they interview us. We want to make sure that they're open to executing on the project the way that we see successful projects happen. And that all goes with the move to the public cloud. People are understanding that that's really the way that you accomplish public cloud implementations.
Yeah, that kind of leads me to my next question about customer support, because naturally, I imagine you get a lot of feedback, a lot of people curious, trying to follow up about the workshop implementation and how everything operates and just all the technical aspects of the solutions you offer. we know that customer support is super important. It's paramount to a company. Nobody wants to get left, in the dark and left feeling overwhelmed or frustrated that their system isn't working. What support does Navigate provide to help companies out?
Yeah, so as part of our implementation process, we're with you. The full implementation team is there until you close your books, your first month end close. So we're fully staffed for that period of time, sometimes a little bit longer, 30, 45, 60 days. At that point, then we have already introduced our customer support staff, which we have a customer support center out in Utah. And so it's US based. And those folks are actually introduced to the customer during go live. So that way they're already familiar with your business. And then once we're through with signing off on the go live after your first month end or period end close, then you have the customer support team to lean on. And that can be a text, it can be a chat, it can be an email. But they're there and ready to, in understanding how you're using the software already, in order to be able to help you. Again, it's all part of a continuum of what we call a customer for life. It starts very early in the sales process, understanding the business, talking about the business, implementing for business outcomes, and then supporting the business over the course of a period of time.
Yeah, that customer service is a very important feature, and make sure they're ready to answer any sort of questions, concerns that come up. Another important feature is support for third-party systems, right? How does Navigator work with their clients to extend the SAP solution stack and maybe integrate with third-party systems? And why would you say this maybe is important from a general level?
Yeah, so it's a great question again. As you look at the public cloud and as you look at enterprise resource planning systems, they do a lot, but oftentimes they don't do everything. So, for instance, in life sciences, they may have a laboratory management system, meaning that they may do testing on medicines that they're producing or consuming. So you'll see a system like that sit outside, very, very point specific, very technical, very fit to a specific purpose. No ERP is going to do that, right? ERP is more about commercial business operations. But there is an interaction that has to be conducted between the two. For instance, if I produce, I'm going to use the life science example again. If I produce a batch of medicine, that medicine needs to be sampled by the laboratory system, approved for use, and then allowed to continue on for distribution in the ERP. So that's the point at which, we want the lab system to say, okay, it's okay to ship that particular product. That point of integration is something that oftentimes we build with our integration teams so that we are able to take ownership, if you will, of supporting it over the long haul.
Gotcha. Well, another kind of phrase I've seen mentioned on your website and talked about is this idea of rapid time to value. Can you explain what that means for companies when it comes to maybe modernizing their ERP system?
Sure, absolutely. So again, I'll go back to the old-fashioned ERP implementation versus a fit to standard or a cloud-based implementation. If you look at what it would take to traditionally implement an ERP solution, something that was covering all the aspects of the business, that would normally take a 12 to 18-month period of time. During that period of time, you're paying for software, you're paying for the services, and you're keeping your old system up and running. So you have really three elements of cost. And so the return on investment takes a longer period of time to be able to start to achieve the benefits, both financially in terms of any cost savings, but also to stop the spending on the implementation. As we look to the public cloud fit to standard type implementation, again, you're shortening that time period to a 6 to 9 month period of time. And so the costs are less, the disruption to your organization is less, and you're actually able to start achieving some of the outcomes, whether that be the cost savings, improvement in customer service, ability to scale. You're just reaching that point of being able to use the system fully in about half the time that you would from a traditional old-fashioned implementation, as it were.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for breaking that down. I'm coming down to my last few questions for you, and I want to kind of maybe take a step back and look more broadly at the industry and SAP and some of the offerings that are coming down the pipeline. What are some updates from SAP that you're maybe particularly excited about?
Well, if you do any research on SAP, you'll see over the last 8 months that they are really repositioning the company as the leading business artificial intelligence company, AI, right? I think everybody knows AI, right? So, fundamentally, they've been an ERP company, enterprise resource planning company, for the last 50 years. They do it better than anybody else. They have sophisticated tools to be able to help you to run your business. What they're now betting the farm on, as it were, is business AI, and this whole concept that now that I have a system that's operating in the business, how can I use AI to gain insight? How can I start to automate, start to do things better? How do I handle customer service using AI rather than to have to staff bodies from a cost perspective? How can I do predictive analytics in terms of what my cash balance might be 18 months out so that I can be planning investments? Those are the types of things that SAP is bringing to bear, and they've had it in the product for about the last 18 months. They're really just starting to articulate the benefit of it and their focus on it. Now, what they've done as of late is introduced a co-pilot product called Joule, Joule, which is going to sit on all of their products and all the user interfaces to provide more of a generative AI type capability. You can be able to talk to that product, tell me when's the last 5 times I sold this product and what was the profit margin on it, and boom, Joule will come back with that answer for you. It will allow companies to do benchmarking versus other companies in the ecosystem. It's really where they're looking to take computing, as everybody is, right? It's no secret. Everybody, the biggest hot button topic in computing is AI. What they're looking to do is really take it out of the stratosphere and bring it down to the atmosphere and allow it to be applied to business in a very practical and pragmatic way.
Yeah, and given the kind of importance and of this software, I imagine you naturally have to be kind of cautious about implementing and rolling out these features, right? So it kind of makes sense that you said they were talking about it. They've been working on it for the last 18 months. I'm sure they were working on it actually probably for, a few years ago, if not longer, before AI was maybe even coined AI. Because you always got to look ahead, right? But yeah, no, that's just a testament to the fact that we're really entering this sort of efficiency era. And yeah, it's kind of exciting to watch. And I'm sure. Do you know when the timeline is for some of these AI features to roll out? You said they're kind of coming out.
Yeah, now Joule is actually embedded in 2 or 3 of the products already. So in their human capital management software called Success Factors, it's already there, and you can see kind of demonstrations of it where it really has impact. The example there is a hiring manager talking to Joule and saying, I need to hire for a position. Here's the credentials I need. Here's the capabilities I need. Joule authors a job description, forwards that on to the talent recruitment team, and you have a whole workflow. It's a really quite an impressive demonstration. So it's already been released in the first half of 24 on a couple of products. It's coming to the ERP products, meaning the ones where people actually run their commercial operations, by the end of this year, is what we're being told. We're very anxiously awaiting, so we can actually show it to our customers. We've been involved in some early release testing of it. It's impressive, very impressive.
It's exciting. Yeah, that's right around the corner. We got only a month and a half or so left of the year. So, well, I've got one more last big question, I would say, your way. You've obviously been a wealth of information on this subject, and given all that if you could go back to maybe the start of your career, what's one piece of advice that you'd give yourself?
Let's see. The start of my career was right after dirt was invented, but so I've been around a while. I think what I would do is I would read more. I would suggest to myself that I read more on more of the human behavior. I would how teams work, right? Organizational behavior. Try to gain more insight into how people think and how they work and other perspectives. I think that would have helped inform me, especially earlier in my career when I was kind of hard charging and pretty sure of what I knew. Right? Sometimes you're sure of what you know, but you don't know what you don't know. Right? So I think that reading and being more open to other information is something I would go back and tell myself.
That's a great answer. That's an answer we heard. What was it? Last week with Steve Yegi over at Source Graph. He mentioned, I asked a similar question. He mentioned, he really drilled down the importance for maybe even especially the young Gen Z listeners too. It's read long form content, because we're so surrounded with all this short form, instant, uh, gratification, and we don't absorb the long form content that has just full of information and it can help you grasp bigger concepts. Yeah, he really nailed down that idea too.
Yeah, that's a great point. Long form will help put wrinkles in your brain. Short form will not.
Well, I'm
So
I'm gonna have to start doing that more because again, I read a lot of articles for SourceForge and for Slashdot, and it's the longer form content that I struggle with. So I appreciate that
yeah,
answer, and I'm gonna
and
take it
then
to
just
heart.
read a book. Read a book about not business. It's
Yeah,
oftentimes read for joy. It just will it'll actually open your mind for other things.
I love it. Well, last but not least, where can people find out more about Navigator Business Systems and get in touch with you and your team?
Yeah, sure. www.nbs-us.com. That's where you'll find us. You can find us on LinkedIn
Perfect.
also. So,
Awesome. Well, hey,
yeah,
thank you so much for the time and out of your busy schedule to sit down and talk about Navigator. I really appreciate it, Ralph.
that's one of my favorite things to do. Thanks for having me, Bo.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Thank you all for listening to the SourceForge podcast. I am your host, Bo Hamilton. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all of our upcoming B2B software related podcasts. I will talk to you in the next one.